The Republican tax bill was a $1.5 trillion tax cut for the rich and corporations. And I want to give you a breakdown of what that money could have went to. You know, the government, it's all about priorities. What do we prioritize? What are we going to spend our resources on? And what's happened is that since corporations and the rich have bought our government by buying the politicians in the form of campaign contributions, what happens is we never get what we want. You look at the majority opinion, rarely, if ever, does that become law. But the people who do get what they want, it's the rich and corporations. And what they want is, hey, giant tax cut for us. So right off the bat here, let's just explain how that framing isn't even correct. See, what happened was, I think it was a $6 trillion tax cut. But it was a $4.5 trillion tax increase on the middle class and a $6 trillion cut to the rich. So you do the math on it, and it comes out to, what, a $1.5 trillion tax cut for the rich. That's how they came to this number. See, a lot of people have been describing this tax bill as just a $1.5 trillion tax cut bill. Yeah, but really, if you want to be specific, it's a $4.5 trillion tax increase on the middle class and the poor. So on working people, giant tax increase. It's only a tax cut in the long run, a decade out, for the rich and corporations. So it's a little misleading to even call it a $1.5 trillion tax cut. It's really a $6 trillion tax cut for the rich, $4.5 trillion tax increase on the middle class and the poor. But nonetheless, let me tell you what that $1.5 trillion could have bought. So, free college for one. For a decade, it would cost $600 billion. So we could pay for free college more than 2 times over. Free college for the entire country, more than 2 times over, instead of giving this giant tax cut to the rich and corporations. They just did that. They just did it. They just did it. They always tell you we can't afford it. We can't afford it. I don't know. Free college, fucking pipe dream, Bernie Sanders. Where are we going to get the money from, Bernie? Where does it grow on trees? Is that where the money comes from, you dumb fucking socialist? We can't afford that, but somehow we could afford more than double the price of that for tax cuts that are not needed for the rich and corporations. Income inequality is already at a record high. Corporate profits are already at a record high. And you just gave them $1.5 trillion. When free college would have cost $600 billion for the entire country for a decade. Anytime they tell you we can't do it, bullshit. They can do it. They don't want to do it because they're listening to their donors. We could erase all student debt for $1.4 trillion. For the cost of an unnecessary tax cut for the rich and corporations, we could have just erased student debt. Done. They could have put it right in the bill. We all could have woken up the day after the bill and went, oh shit, all the student loan debt is gone. Isn't that great? They could have done it. They could have chosen to do that. They didn't do it. This is how much your government is screwing you. I need people to understand. Your government is screwing you. They don't give a fuck about you. We have to make them care about us. They need to be scared of us. Right now, we're scared of the government. We wake up every day and go, holy shit, what are they going to do now? How are they going to fuck us today? Well, no, we need to flip that dynamic and make it so that they are scared of us. Universal preschool, you know how much that would have cost? $406 billion over a decade. So you do the math on that. $1.5 trillion tax cut for the rich and corporations we did. It only cost $406 billion for universal preschool. They don't care. They could have done all this. They don't care. They don't want to do it. To repair American infrastructure. Our infrastructure gets a grade of D+ right now, according to the Society of Civil Engineers. We could fix that. We could fix that. We could have our infrastructure be one of the best in the world if we chose to do it. It would cost $1.1 trillion to fix all the roads and bridges and $962 billion for everything else. But no, we went with tax cuts for the rich and corporations. Even though Trump, one of the things he campaigned on was make America great again. Why are we wasting all this money overseas? We're going to rebuild our own country here at home. You ever been to an airport? It looks like third world in the U.S. Sad. What happened? You wanted to give money that they don't need to already rich corporations who are making record profits and to wealthy people. You gave an estate tax cut instead of giving people education. Universal housing. Oh my goodness, that's an idea that nobody really even talks about in the U.S. I mean, on this show, we talk about homelessness. We have about 500,000 people in the U.S. who are homeless. About 40,000 veterans who are homeless in what's supposed to be the richest country ever. No politicians say, hey, universal housing is something I'm in favor. Nobody says that. How much would it cost to have universal housing to make sure everybody has a roof over their head in the United States for a decade? $410 billion. We never have money for that. Can you imagine the chorus of Republicans, elected Republicans, who would come out and scream and yelp about this? Universal housing? Where are we going to get the money? Universal housing, please. That's crazy. Universal housing. Wow. What kind of a utopian Marxist dream is that? Never universal housing. Gross. $410 billion over 10 years. Peanuts! Peanuts compared to the $1.5 trillion given away to the rich and corporations. And finally, I'll give you one more here. You know, CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, that's giving health care to kids whose parents don't make little enough to get Medicaid. So it's basically like, you know, workers, middle-class families' kids who are lower middle class, don't make enough to qualify for Medicaid, or too much to qualify for Medicaid, but not enough, I guess, to get other forms of subsidies, or not enough subsidies where they can afford it. So, CHIP, Children's Health Insurance Program, it would cost $1.5 trillion to fund CHIP for 107 years. They could have funded CHIP for 107 years. With the money that they did for a tax cut for the rich and corporations. So bottom line is, whenever they say we can't do X, Y, or Z, they're just lying. They're lying to you. We can always do common sense things that other nations figured out. You know, Slovenia has free college. In a country where we pretend like we're number one in everything, we're going to sit back and go, I know Slovenia did it, but we can't do that. I thought, what happened? I thought we were number one. I thought we were the best. We can't do something Slovenia figured out? Oftentimes when they say we can't afford it, the reality is we can't afford not to do it. Your government's lying to you, and it's time for us to fight and get it back. And anybody who's educated on this will tell you that that's the reality. You know, people in the U.S., many people don't even know what other countries get in terms of vacation time. You look at most European countries, most modern nations, they had a lot of paid vacation time by law every year. You know, who gets 15 days, who gets 25 days. You know how many paid vacation days by law we get in the U.S.? 0. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Is that how you want your country to function? It's because our politicians don't care about workers because they're bought by corporations and the rich. It's time for us to take our government back and to fight for these basic things.